but it's like, I guess, a billionaire's or a millionaire's side hustle. It doesn't account. And I think Warren Buffett was a guy who said diversification. No, it wasn't Warren Buffett. There's so much to learn from, I literally, it's a school lesson, sitting down and watching Joe Rogan and Kevin Hart's podcast. Kevin Hart's just so wise.
Yeah.
To be at his level and so self-aware, but it seems like he's figured everything out.
Yeah, because you've mentioned this podcast, this one a couple of times, as being your favourite in terms of just person to listen to, if not, or like any form, like podcasts, because they go into depth on what it takes to be like a Kevin Hart level, because he thinks differently than a lot of people, doesn't he? He's like, his work ethic.
Yeah, so different. But he's just understanding and empathetic, and just, I guess, his motivation and drive to do all the things that he does is seriously impressive.
Yeah.
It's actually cool and scary. I mean, Dwayne Johnson, I feel like they're on a very similar level in terms of just their output. But welcome back. This is episode 7
Hello.
of the Outspoken Show. This is, well, there's a couple of things to touch on because we're down a man.
We are down a man today.
Dylan is no longer with us. I've had the whole day to process it, to think about it, think how the podcast, the program is gonna go on, and it does sadden me because I love Dylan. I mean, we went to...
I've come to love him.
Yeah. I went to primary school with him, I went to high school with him. So I've known Dylan for a very long time, and to hear that he couldn't come on the show it was sad.
It was sad.
It was it took me a little bit of time to process it. And it came at a time when, as a podcast, as a show, as a program, we're at a different level.
We're getting to that next year, aren't we?
We
fast approaching.
This is our last episode.
Yeah.
This is our last episode as every other podcast.
Yeah. We're going up a level.
We are. We are no longer in the 50% of podcasts that fade out.
100%, 50%, 100%. That's right.
There's so many percentages, but every podcast that starts,
usually, what is it, 50% dropout after or before they hit 8 episodes. Like,
they don't get to 8 episodes.
Crazy statistic. You'd think if you start, you would at least,
if Dylan could stick with us for
one
more episode.
Life gets in the way for some people, eh? Unfortunately.
No, Dylan's sick.
Dylan is sick.
He'll be back hopefully next episode. He's got the flu. He's not feeling too good. So
no.
So rest up, Dylan.
We'll persevere without you, and
we're holding down the fort.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll be back with us for the next episode, because that'll be a fun one. But realistically, we are no longer operating. The podcast is changing. We are no longer in the same boat that we were. It's exciting as a podcast to move forward, move on, and redevelop, because most podcasts do fail after 7 episodes, and to be at that line and to be crossing it as we are speaking, it's a pretty cool feeling, because you want it to keep going forever, and that's what we're trying to do. And we've tried to create some processes so that can happen and the podcast can go forever.
Yeah, and part of why we wanted to still record the show even when Dylan's unavailable is because
it's accountability.
We want to stick to a schedule, like a Tuesday, Friday upload, and we want to, because part of the reason a lot of podcasts probably do fail is the lack of consistency.
And creativity. That's another thing. It's hard coming up with concepts. I feel like I've started to go through it. Like, it's not that easy. It's so easy to say we can talk about anything, but by saying we can talk about anything, makes it so hard to come up with something.
Yeah.
It's this weird paradox that you're in. But so that's the most important thing. We got to stay creative. So, it makes me realize what, like, the people like Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, the ones that are in the thousands. Joe Rogan, 1,600 episodes.
Quite a few. Yeah, like what they're able to do is consistently bring out content, consistently bring out interesting content too, which is hard to do consistently. Like Joe Rogan does sometimes 3, 4 a week, but a new person every time. He's at a level where he can do it. But he started out just shit talking with his mates.
Exactly.
That's how it starts out.
That's one thing that I've come to realize, because when I was sort of conceptualizing this podcast, I would look at the Joe Rogan, the Logan Paul, the Tim Ferriss show today.
Yeah.
But adding context to that, Joe Rogan's almost 1,700 episodes in.
Yeah.
Logan Paul's 300 episodes in. Like, looking at them today is not looking at them when they started. So I guess it's peeling back the layers and actually understanding that it takes time to get to that point.
And get to the point where you can just churn out content, keep it interesting. I think it's a different way of talking too, like being able to consistently talk and get everything out of your guests, because that's what Joe Rogan's able to do.
He's a
3-4 hour podcast. It's never dull. Like I don't find many dull moments when I listen to it.
Have you seen the one with Kanye West?
Yes. that was hard to follow.
Did you finish it? I'm not sure if I did.
I finished it. I can't remember exactly what went on in that one, but I remember that different kind of thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, I went through it, and I had a different level of respect for Joe Rogan because I struggled as a listener to actually just pay attention and keep going with the show.
Yeah.
But we're going to interrupt the program because we're going to go for a set update.
Oof.
We're going for a set update, and we hope that when we're back, you're going to be impressed with what we've done. So we'll see you in a minute.
A few moments later.
We're back.
This is an
exciting development for the show.
It's huge. I'm actually a bit sad that Dylan wasn't here to see it, but he will see it. But it's an exciting little change for the show. So we've now got ourselves a TV, which I guess it just means better for you guys, because when we're looking at something, we can then show it to you. And I think, especially for those listening on YouTube, it'll make it a lot easier to follow along with what we're looking at when we're searching, when we're watching clips or doing our own research. So
yeah,
I guess that's the point of it, to make the experience better.
Definitely helps, so you can see what we're looking at when we're talking about something we might not know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You can see what research we're looking at.
Time. Yeah. We've been called out. I'm still getting shit for the Kendall Jenner thing.
Yeah.
Was it Kendall Jenner?
People want fact checking, but sometimes you don't necessarily want to or need to.
At the end of the day, you're listening to 3, but 2 of us now.
Yeah.
Guys who don't know their shit.
And we know we don't know our shit sometimes, and we don't mind not knowing our shit.
It's the fact of the matter. But we try and stay accurate. We try and give the best information possible. So now you can watch us do that. So it's exciting.
That's it.
I don't know what we were up to, but
talking about
Joe Rogan
podcasts. Yeah.
Still Joe Rogan. I was actually listening to Joe Rogan last night. I think I was saying earlier, I was rewatching Kevin Hart and Joe Rogan, and Mum goes, "Is that Dino?" The voice sounded like you. I think you're Ray Romano.
Ray Romano is definitely the one I have copped my whole life.
Yeah.
So Joe Rogan, it's a pleasant surprise. I might have to go thank her afterwards. I mean, I'm not so angry that she drank my cider the other day.
That's right, the pear cider.
Like, you bring over a couple of ciders. You don't expect, your mate's mum to be the one down on them, but it happens, and thank you for letting me use your home. That's all I'll say.
That's okay, yeah. But, I'd love to bring up Ray Romano's voice just to do a comparison, but that's copyright. Yeah. So there are some things that we can't bring up.
I mean, if you know who Ray Romano is and you're listening to this, you could probably, you probably see the link. Yeah.
Ice Age. Everybody Loves Raymond, obviously the TV show, which is amazing. Great. Are you Raymond in your family? Because you've got Mikey, your brother. Are you Raymond, or is it Greg?
Greg? It's not.
We can look that up.
Wait, let's look it up. But I was definitely referred to as Raymond growing up. It was Raymond and... I used to watch that show. I loved that show because I saw myself as Ray. But no, I was always compared to him. people would say that I was the Raymond of the family, but it's not a bad comparison. Quite a successful
Look at
guy.
that.
Come on.
What do we got?
Rob. I believe it's Rob, isn't it?
Robert? It could
Robert.
be. It is, I think, Robert, yeah.
Look, sorry, Mikey. Thank you for the cactuses,
Yeah,
by the way,
Robert.
but Robert is not,
That's
the
in there,
comparison you
Robert.
want.
Is it actually a professional poker player?
There you go.
Wow, I didn't know that.
What's it take to be a professional poker player, though? Just be in
a
one
lot
tournament?
of money, I think, to be able to afford to enter in the tournament.
Just
I think.
pay your way in, essentially?
I think
Like,
so, yeah.
You just play it once and you're a professional?
Yeah.
Not a bad gig.
No, it's a great gig. Dan Bilzerian falls under that category.
Well, he's allegedly made a lot of money through poker, wasn't it? He
That's what
made
he
his
tells
initial
people.
wealth. Yeah. It's a good story.
His
whether
dad
it's
was
true or
wealthy,
not. Yeah,
and
really?
was that the cause of his wealth?
Potentially.
Probably.
Yeah.
It would have helped.
It wouldn't hurt having a successful father.
I think whether most of his money came from his dad or not, I think having someone with a couple of milli in the bag
Yeah.
gives you a good kickstart, whether it was a direct handout or not. But
Allows you to take more chances than you might otherwise because,
the tolerance for
fallback
risk
isn't
goes
that
up.
bad. Yeah.
Something we've talked about with our own finances, and because we are younger, we have a greater appetite for risk because we're not retiring in the next few years. We can afford to take on a couple of extra risks.
Yeah.
But,
I think, more okay with the risk than I am. I mean, I just don't understand some of the risks I get into. Like
Yeah,
learning more
I
about
accept
finance.
it.
Yeah.
I think I'm good at accepting the risk, and if all the money that I had invested was taken away from me now, it wouldn't affect me. I would still say yes to going out to dinner with whoever it is. It wouldn't affect me day to day because what I do day to day is based on the cash flow.
Yeah.
So that's on the income I get paid. It doesn't affect. I don't want my money to be taken from me or to go just like that.
All right, everyone, take Luke's money. That's
Yeah.
what he's saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's fine with it. Just ask if a handout, he'll give it to you.
But I'm okay with it. So
Yeah.
I think, and by thinking like that, I don't enter into every investment like, oh, well, who gives a fuck if this goes to zero? But I'm aware that it very well could, or go close to zero. But I also think I balance the upside as well.
You got a bit of defense assets as opposed to all. What do they call it? There's defense assets and then there's what are the other ones?
Yeah, aggressive, conservative.
Okay.
They talk about like balanced portfolios, which is where you're diversified.
Spread over. Yeah.
There's so many different opinions on the finance though, because you can talk about like I think they say the average millionaire has seven sources of income.
Jesus. Okay.
So that's super diversified.
Yeah.
But then I think if you were to dig deeper into that, there's probably one of those seven that accounts for 80%.
Right.
So a lot of them are big on one thing, and then they've got other things on the side.
Little things in the way.
But it's like, I guess, a billionaire's or a millionaire's side hustle. It doesn't account. And I think Warren Buffett was a guy who said diversification. No, it wasn't Warren Buffett. Someone has said.
Look it up, guys.
Actually, I will. But diversification is for. I don't actually know what the quote is. I don't know what I'm saying.
Diversify, it's safer, and more streams of income is better. It seems to make a lot of sense to me. When they talk about that, though, does that mean just investing in different things as different sources of income? Or is that just different in total? It's like investing is one of those sources of income.
What is it here? Just looking at some of the quotes. A lot of it's actually for diversification, but I also agree that by diversifying, you're actually also minimizing your returns. So, like, to explain that, and I can't find the person
It
who
makes
said
sense
it.
because if you have only limited things, more money is in that one thing. So if it does well, you'll get more returns.
Exactly.
Like that,
Yeah.
it cancels out that potential.
It's a
I guess.
weird balance of you don't want all your eggs in one basket, and you don't want to get caught jumping into the river with both feet.
Yeah.
But you also want to be able to capitalize on the one thing that you know. And Elon Musk, hang on, I want to go on this tangent because then I was going to go anti it and play devil's advocate for a minute.
Go.
But if you had 10 different stocks that you're invested in to actually make decent money and not your averaged index return of 8 to 10% per year, it's very hard for all 10 to go up. But if you were certain, because of the research you've done behind it, or you're investing in yourself, that this one thing you're doing is going to be the thing that's going to create your wealth, by pooling all your money into that is going to allow the 100x return, the big returns that come from building your own businesses. So that's the paradox to diversification.
Yeah.
Because by diversifying, you're also minimizing your potential returns. And it's very hard to make big returns by being diversified, but it's very hard to lose money.
Yeah, so it's that risk-reward ratio, like whether you want to
Exactly.
risk it all or risk a lot more money just to get a lot more, or you're happy just getting little.
Exactly.
Yeah, I lean on the little improvements. I think that is my natural way of being in terms of the big risks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even get my head to think about that.
I feel like you're in a different position to me though, because you're not married, but you've got a partner, a fairly long-term partner, and she has a child. So effectively, you're in a family.
Yeah, a bit more stakes to taking the.
You've got more responsibility than I do, who's just a lone ranger out here. So I guess there's more for you to consider than there is for me.
Yeah.
My actions only impact myself, so it's easier to be selfish. Elon Musk, have you heard the famous story of Elon Musk when he had, I think, Tesla, SpaceX, and there was maybe a third company on the line.
The Boring Company, or was it a different one?
I don't know.
PayPal?
I think it was after PayPal, but where he was saying that it was dead broke and he only had a certain amount of money left, and he compared each company like one of his childs, and you don't want to let one of your child starve.
Yeah.
So, but he only had a certain amount of money. It was his last couple of million, say.
Ugh.
And he was, do you give it all to one, or do you split it up, or all to the other? And he ended up giving it to both. So he diversified, and SpaceX, Tesla, both way bigger than they were when this story came around.
Yeah. So
there's
successful people do,
yeah.
He knows what he's doing when he's talking about
Elon Musk is different.
Yeah,
I think when you actually work 24
hours
hours a day, you can pull things off that most people can't, because you're doing more than everyone else.
Yeah.
Which is like the The Rock, the Kevin Hart. These guys are just putting out more than others. They're spending more time doing things.
Yeah. Like Kevin Hart, he talks about how much he wakes up, he's got his personal trainer, lives with him and tours with him, just make sure he's up, because he's got that mentality too of beat the rest of the world awake and be the first one. That's a bit of you. I need to get some of that in me, because that is the hardest thing for me, is pushing myself to consistently do that.
I hate, if I was to, for whatever reason, sleep in, I then wake up, I've instantly got this, if I was to sleep in and wake up, I've instantly got this fire inside of me. I'm angry because I didn't mean to be sleeping for this long. And a sleep in for me is 7:30. But I'm instantly angry that I've wasted, and everyone else is out there doing their day. The day has started. And it's also probably a Sunday, but it's just how I am. I can't stand having everyone else go on with their thing, doing their things.
Where did that come from? Or has that just always been the case? You've always, surely there's something that's influenced that way of thinking.
I don't think so. I think that was literally, as a kid, I would wake up early, but it would be Dad would be up, but he might be watching TV because Dad could never sleep that well. So I might go, okay, it's 6 o'clock, I'll go watch cartoons with Dad. But it was never to do anything until probably high school, when I started to realize that I've got to spend a bit more time, because I wasn't that smart in school, I was just lazy. So I had to spend a bit more time on books, and that was when I was getting up early. But still, I never slept in. And I think it was just something I was born with.
Yeah, that I've probably the past year and a half, sleep-ins are rare now. A sleep-in for me used to be I could sleep till 12.
Jesus.
Sleep till 12 o'clock. But that's partially because I'd be up till stupid 4 or 5 o'clock watching football.
Yeah.
But I could convince myself I'll sleep till 12, so it doesn't matter. Just got uni or some late afternoon shift to worry about. Past a year or so, it's just I've completely flipped that. And even my outlook on it is I don't really want to sleep in much. Maybe 1 or 2 days a month.
Yeah.
I'll sleep past 9 o'clock on a weekend. But before, outside of that, I've I don't know what it is, but part of it's just I don't want to. It feels like a waste. It feels like a waste. But for me, it took working full-time hours and only having 2 days to, do the things I need to do around the house or go do something that made me think this way and start to adapt the way I lived. But I don't know, that drive to because you wake up 4 a.m. or early mornings to go swimming before work or to
I wouldn't say 4 o'clock. I'm consistently up at 5 though.
Yeah.
Sometimes earlier than that. Weekends it's probably around 6 because that's enjoyable for me. Waking up at 6:30, but never past that. But I just there's like a bone. There's something inside of me that doesn't allow it, and I think also by doing the full-time hours from working 8 till 5, it's made me go, okay, I've got a laundry list of things that I want to do for me that day. When's it going to be? So I guess with working, you essentially taking the best, most functional part of the day, and you're giving it to someone else, but you're getting money. So you need that. But then it's okay, the other time, I'm in this scramble to do as much as I can for me. So now we're doing the podcast, whether it's training for Uluru or working on the doc. There's so many other things that are going on, researching to buy the house. There's always a lot of other things in the air, which is chaotic, but I sort of find that fun. That's going on that makes me just want to have to capitalize on the time outside of not working.
And I think the early mornings it is the most sensible thing to do because it is so easy to waste time after work at night. As soon as you go home, at least for me, when I was doing golf, when I was sort of golf phase, I could go home then go to golf. That was different. I don't know what that was. That was an obsession for 4 months. Heavily got into golf. Was on my way to the PGA, definitely. Stop that. But for whatever reason,
it would have been a late debut, but it would have happened. I'm back.
It would have happened. It might still happen. There might be a resurgence coming out soon. Stay tuned. But it was something about that after work. Outside of that, if I didn't have that or a football training to go to, motivating myself to do anything was just chill. It'd be so easy to just let yourself
That's
waste
weird.
the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's we got different mentalities with that. But I need to learn to
there.
wake up earlier though and start working out, especially with the marathon. Learning to do it before work because it'd be too easy for me not to do it after. And it's a mindset thing part of that. Isn't
And
it?
if you can, I feel like if it's just one thing, if you can just get up and do one thing before work, you don't notice it that much. You extend your day, but I don't think you become more tired at the end of the day.
No.
But you become satisfied because you've already done something. And the first thing you do is accomplishing something. I feel like you're sort of setting your day up for success.
Yeah.
And I guess that's sort of the way I look at it, because if you do 1 or 2 good things in the morning that you wanted to do, it's very hard to fuck up that day or waste that day because you've already done what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then you've got so much of the rest of the day to do whatever else you wanted to do. It's
conceptually it makes all the sense in the world.
yeah.
Of course, why would I not do that? But then getting up early, I don't know what. It's just a mindset, isn't it? You just have to train yourself, do it a few times, get consistent. But even starting that, I don't know what that is. The start is always.
It's hard at winter. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's harder in winter, and if you're not getting enough sleep. But if you were to say, what time do you wake up?
I wake up. At the moment, it's about 6:15, 6:30.
Okay, so
on an average day.
Say at 6:30.
Yeah.
This week or for the next 7 days, wake up at 6. Hopefully that will become habitual. Do you set an alarm clock?
Yeah, every morning.
Yeah. So set it for 6 o'clock. And then next week, set it for 5:30.
Just keep pushing it back.
And then go... Yeah, I mean, you don't want to end up at 2 o'clock.
Don't sleep. Sleep during work hours, yeah.
But, like,
Just
say 5:30. 5:30 is, I think, reasonable because if you're still in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock, that's 7 hours or something like that. That's a reasonable amount of sleep.
Nah.
But you're enabling yourself to do 1 or 2 things that morning that sort of just sets your day up for success. That's sort of how I look at it.
Yeah. It's definitely something I want to do, especially with the training. Like, being able to train in the morning, I think is going to be massive.
How much have you been doing?
Not a hell of a lot yet. Not a hell of a yet. Just run here and there. Not enough.
Yeah.
Not as much as I should be doing. Like, that's what I need to focus on that now. Because it's now like 2 months till we're doing a marathon. Should probably start.
We're end of April.
Yeah.
It's July. So we've got
July.
all of May. We've got all of June. So you've got 10 weeks, say.
Yeah.
Maybe 9 weeks.
It's a training camp.
That's enough time for training camp. I wouldn't overthink it. I mean...
I'm not overly worried. I definitely believe especially if I start now, I can run a marathon.
Yeah.
Like, I think get that base level fitness and then it's willpower. The less I train, obviously, the harder it will be. Like, the more willpower I'll need.
Yeah.
And I might be cooked for a week afterwards. So, obviously, try to avoid that.
Well, the way that I looked at it for Uluru is, I guess, it was 3 things. Mental, motor, which is just the skill of running and being able to run, and cardio. So just making sure your fitness is good enough. That doesn't have to be done through running. There are so many different... You can do weight training that tests cardio. There's so many different ways you can improve your cardio that doesn't even have to be through running. But the second part is motor. So you do need to be doing some running.
Yeah.
So I think 3 times a week is probably a good amount, making sure that they're non-consecutive days because you want a full day to heal and recover, because running is taxing on your body, and especially coming from not doing any running or much running in the past, you don't want to go too much too soon. And then the third part is mental, which is probably the hardest, or actually, like, if you were to break it down as a percentage, I wouldn't say it's 30 or 33. I'd say it's probably like 60 or 70% mental. Actually, probably fucking higher than that, because it's the willingness to be able to do something for 5 hours. And I guess if you were to go for a 4 or 5 hour walk, just to wrap your head around the amount of time that you'll be running for, or just give yourself a better concept of it.
Yeah.
Because it's 4 or 5 hours, it's a number, but to actually do something for that period of time and to be able to visualize it better, it'll give you a better understanding and prepare yourself mentally. But then you've also got to be willing to run with blisters, run with aching feet, run with a sore knee, run with sore metatarsals in your feet, because that will happen because you're running on concrete. Terrible for your bones. So you got to be willing to do that. And I guess for Uluru, that's pretty much all I thought about. Just the
Leading
pain
up
that would
to
be
it,
going through my body. And I sort of weighed it up, and you just create the image in your mind, the worst possible image in your mind.
Hone in on that, focus on that. And
then it can't be worse than that.
Yeah.
It can't be worse than that, because I was in so much pain. And actually, one thing I didn't expect or didn't plan for was muscle cramping. I knew that would happen, but I didn't think about it as much. So that sort of caught me off guard. But because I'd created this just terribly gruesome idea in my mind of what would happen at the end of 60 kilometers and what I'd be running with and the pain that I'd be feeling of my shoes going from black to red because of the amount of blisters and blood going on in my feet. And I was okay with that. I knew it would be painful, but I was okay with that. I knew that the shin splint or the stress fracture in my right shin just could become a bigger fracture over the course of 6 hours. Like, that's probably going to happen. So I'm just creating all these things that could happen and making them the worst possible thing, adding them together. Am I willing to do this when this happens? And it's very hard. If you've created that image, to not be able to do it if you know what the worst outcome is going to be. And
living with shin splints leading up to it too would probably just give you an understanding of living in day and with that kind of pain.
And going, there's a little bit of pain now, this is 1%.
Yeah.
Can you do 88% of this pain?
Yeah.
Can you do 100 times this pain? Can you do more pain than you've ever felt before pain? And I guess that's sort of the way, and it was never what I created in my mind. That was why, I guess, when people ask me, like, how was it? It's incredibly hard, but it's also easy because it was so much easier than this image I'd created in my mind of me collapsing and then having to wake back up and keep going.
Yeah.
Like it was never going to be that bad.
Yeah.
Mum came with me. She was never going to let it be that bad. but that was the image that I'd created for myself. So anything better than that was a huge win and was easy.
So create a traumatic event in my head just to... watching... Did you see the UFC fight on the weekend where Chris Weidman, like, cracked his... What is it? Got leg kick checked and boom, split his ankle in half, or like split the bone and... See, just dangling there. I'll just imagine that as I'm running. I feel like that's a great little...
One last thought, because I want to talk about the UFC.
Yeah.
But if you were to do some squatting and to do some lunges just beforehand, just body weight stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it because I didn't want to put weight on my shins, so that I avoided that. But I think if I did a little bit of body weight work, just to activate your glutes and the muscles towards the top of your leg, because I didn't realize how much involvement that'd be having when you run for 7 hours, 8 hours.
That's what.
So that would
could help avoid cramping essentially.
I think so. Just stronger muscles. But Wiedemann,
Chris Weidman.
Oh.
Funny thing is, the exact same thing happened to Anderson Silva when he versed Chris Weidman, like back in
what do you mean?
A couple of years ago, like the exact same injury.
Chris Weidman had injured his leg.
No. So exact same thing that happened essentially that Chris Weidman did. Anderson Silva did to Chris Weidman a couple of years ago when he fought for the title.
Anderson Silva snapped his leg
on Chris Weidman's, yeah.
And then Chris Weidman snapped his leg.
Oh yeah.
Jesus fuck.
That's a weird coincidence, that, because it's like, I think it's happened maybe 2 or 3 times in the UFC now. Like that particular thing where they just snapping their legs in.
Is Anderson Silva fighting again? Like, is it possible to... I don't know anything about that sort of break other than...
he definitely fought afterwards. Like, I don't know if it was the same, though. He went on... He still, I think, has the longest winning streak in UFC history. I think he's got 13... He might have 16 straight UFC wins. It's either 13 or 16. He was the GOAT for the longest time. Like, he was the best. I think it might have even been until that fight. But he was incredible. But yeah, an injury like that, I don't know how you would recover fully from something like that. Like snapping your Uriah Hall. Oh, yeah, no. So it's just from... He was the aggressor.
Is that the left leg there?
That's the right leg, yeah. I think it's dangling it. Yeah, it's cooked. I don't even know if...
Here we go. This is on Twitter. This is public, so we are allowed to play this.
Like, look at this.
Don't watch this if you don't want to see bad shit.
Oh.
That's bad shit.
Like, look at that. That is... I've seen those injuries in years ago in football, too. There was some player for Arsenal. I can't remember his name, but... Like, holy shit. Like, that is a real tough person sport, you know. Like, and that's him. He was the aggressor there. And all Uriah Hall, the other guy, did was check it. Just checked. And just that wrong connection.
I'll stop playing that so that you don't have to...
No, I need to memorize that because that's what I'm going to think about when I'm running. Like, this could happen. This could be worse.
It could be.
That's that inner, like, holy shit moment you got to think about.
Yeah. That's it.
That was a hell of a card. I didn't get a chance to watch it live. I believe we were recording.
So, he lost.
He lost.
You
I think
can't
that's
win
a TKO.
after that.
Yeah.
So Uriah Hall defeated Chris Weidman by a TKO after a ugly leg kick.
That was a good card though. Based on the highlights, there's so many. Every single main card fight ended with a knockout. Jesus. And Jake Paul was there causing shit.
What did he do?
He was just in the crowd. One of the better heavyweights. He might even be like. Okay, regardless, one of the better heavyweights, Daniel Cormier, was caught in like an interaction with him. Like, they were talking shit to each other. The UFC hates Jake Paul. Like, they hate... I don't know if...
Does the UFC the MMA fighters, or is it Dana White? Dana White hates him.
I think Dana White hates him, but I think a lot of the fighters, because a lot of these guys are like career martial artists, and they probably think Jake Paul coming in here, it's all a show, taking the purity away from the sport. And they all want to fight him because they all think they're going to like knock the kid out. But and if it was in the UFC, if he ever fought in that way, he won't because the money's not going to be there.
Not good enough.
He wouldn't last with most of these guys. He wouldn't have a chance. But
I guess the thing with those UFC people and I guess the purists is they are artists. A lot of those guys are artists. McGregor is an entertainer, but Khabib is an artist.
Yeah,
Khabib isn't as good at putting on a show. Come watch him because he's fucking fantastic at what he does.
Dominant.
He's an artist.
Yeah.
But McGregor will give you a show.
Yeah. It's all about the build up and the lead up, and he'll get people wanting to see him and win. He was one of the ones that people wanted to see him win. He wasn't hated. He was loved.
Was he?
I think so. Apart from maybe the initial one with Jose Aldo, when he first made his name, because there might have been Brazil.
I feel like people resented him a little bit.
That's not the feeling I got.
Okay, yeah.
Like he people love Conor McGregor. They didn't want to see him lose. I don't think. I think they loved his entertainment factor.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. I know. I think everyone wanted him to win against Mayweather.
Definitely,
Boxing, it's not even his sport. But I think that was because fuck Mayweather. But I feel like in sport, fans are fucked up. They want to see you come from nothing. They want to see you get to the top. And they're like, fuck this guy. He's too high. He's too high. We can't see him. He's too far above us from the regular person. He's forgotten us. Let him fucking fall. I want some other underdog who was in said person's position to come and knock him off the top.
What is
and
that?
That makes everyone so happy.
The underdog thing is when you
the
think about it, it doesn't
knocking off the top dog.
It doesn't make sense because I understand why you want the underdog to win because maybe you can relate more to an underdog. Yeah. It's like this guy's coming from nothing.
The common man, is relatable.
But then you see these guys who are dominant for long periods of time, and how can you not respect how hard it is to be that good for a long time? And how good... Why do we... Because even me, I'll naturally... If I have no rooting interest, I'll go for the underdog. Yeah. Whatever it is.
I'm the same. It's an instinct.
Naturally, yeah.
I will say, though, the one thing that people love more than the top dog getting knocked down is him getting back up. That's the thing. Tiger Woods. Early 2000.
Oh.
Do you know a little bit about golf?
Yeah.
2000 to 2010, unbeatable.
Yep.
By about 2015, he was no longer considered. I remember he had some drink driving incident. He'd had a couple of divorces. There was a lot of other things going on in his life.
Personal issues.
Yeah. And I don't know enough about those, but it made everyone go, fuck Tiger Woods. And then in 2019, he won the Masters.
Yeah. After,
I think, 8 years winning a major championship. And it's giving me goosebumps because everyone counted him out.
Mm.
And to come back like that, it's that sort of story that, wow, he did that.
That's the only thing sports fans love more than an underdog is a comeback.
Yeah.
A comeback
story.
My God, down and then he comes back. Incredible. But even
it's orgasmic.
Yeah, it's as close as it gets sport-wise. Jesus Christ.
Life-wise, more than sport does a lot for me.
But no, I was even listening to a NFL podcast, and they don't talk about anything. But when that Masters was on, they're like, even us, one of them was talking about how they don't watch golf that much, growing up a little bit, but when that was happening, when Tiger Woods was on his resurgence, everyone was watching. The whole, it was an NFL media podcast. The whole of NFL media was watching the Masters. Everyone just sitting there watching golf because what a comeback.
And one thing that rarely happens in golf, because golf is 4 rounds, so each round is on a different day, so they play a round of 18 holes, and after 2 rounds, half the field gets cut, so the bottom half gets cut out.
Yeah.
But round 1, Tiger Woods is ahead. Round 2, Tiger Woods is ahead. And they call round 3 moving day because that's when everything changes. And very rarely do you see someone lead for 4 days. Not
Yeah.
to mention how hard it is to stay ahead for 4 days because it's easy to be content. So it really doesn't happen in
Yeah.
golf, especially in majors. And Tiger Woods was leading going into day 3. And he won on day 4. It's one of those things that a comeback story, and he did something that very rarely happens.
Just remind you of how good they are. They're great.
But Hideki Matsuyama just won the Masters, and another amazing performance where he did over 4 days just extend his lead over everyone else, and it really doesn't happen, and it deserves so much recognition to be able to stay ahead. To get a lead is awesome and impressive, but to keep the lead and even extend it, it's something that is so hard to do.
So hard to do in any sport, but yeah, it's golf especially. I learned like just from playing it and then just watching a lot of
Yeah.
it. It's one of those sports where it's so easy to fuck your whole game up. Like
It's-
you make one bad mistake, your score's cooked. You're probably not
Yeah.
going to win. Like it's such a precise
Yeah.
and difficult sport. That's what part of what's amazing about that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Oh.
I was similar sort of thing. I was chatting to a friend of mine, Adam. He plays tennis for Tennessee Vols. They just won the SEC, the team, which is amazing and incredible. And we were chatting about that, and he was telling me how they won in, I think, where was it? It was somewhere in the north of America, and they're in Tennessee, which is the south of America. So they ended up the chartered plane that was taking them back to North Carolina before they made a connect. The opposition that they beat in the finals of the SEC championships, which is like a conference, a division.
Yeah.
They're on the same flight, and they're just bawling. They get to North Carolina Airport. They start partying on the flight from North Carolina back to Knoxville, which is the city that they're from. They're partying, and then they arrive at like 1 a.m. back in Knoxville, and they've got the trophy, the big trophy. It's like 25 kilos. He's telling me, and they're partying, and then they go to bed early. At like 5 a.m. The next night, they actually have the opportunity to go to the clubs because they showed up too late. The first night they landed back. And they said they wore the SEC Championships tennis shirts. And he goes, we felt famous.
Really? Even I know they love college sport in America.
That's what I
they
thought.
love
Yeah, tennis
too.
players. Yeah.
They love tennis.
Yeah. He goes, it was amazing.
They just love winners.
We felt famous. And shout out Adam Walton, Pat Harper. Fucking got his name wrong. It's a good mate
It's
too.
okay. It's okay. He'll forgive you.
Pat and Adam did an amazing job.
That's crazy. Like,
But-
I'm shocked to hear
Yeah.
that tennis.
They felt famous. They're wearing their SEC championships, and I guess because Knoxville's a smaller city, there's probably you hear a lot more noise. So 2 nights after they won the SEC championships, they go out and they're famous. It's an incredible feeling. But back to that thing of staying ahead. So they've won the conference. Now they've got the Natty. Now they're going for the national championship.
Big dogs.
Yes, this is the big chip.
Is the-
This is the real deal.
Oh, the recognition for just the conference, though, that's good.
It's
isn't it?
it's massive.
Oh.
It's I think the toughest conference, and they are expected to win. They should win, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of thing of doing so well, but the job's not done. You can't be content. And he's had an amazing senior season because his fingers crossed should be going All-American. Him and Pat, who's another Brizzy guy, their doubles partner. They're ranked number 3 in the country. So they're going All-American as doubles. So Pat's done a phenomenal job as well.
Yeah.
They're awesome to watch because they're so fiery on the doubles court. It's just electric to watch. But as doubles, they've also got a chance to go and win the Natty. And then him, Adam, the guy I was talking to, also has a chance to go win the Natty in singles. So, like, he's got this sort of period now where he's in this 1 week where he's getting his exams done. And next week they get the draw. And I think the round of 64 and 32, I think, are in their city before they fly to Orlando.
Yeah.
Provided they pass through the 62 and 32 round, 64, 32 round.
Yeah.
But it's just that thing of there's so much more work to be done
Yeah.
and just not being content.
This is leading into, it's a bit of a tangent here, but like into why cheating is so frowned upon. Any form of cheating in sport is so
Yeah.
frowned upon. Just because of all of these sports we mentioned, they're so hard to get to a level where you can be consistently a great performer. So any like hint of cheating, it's like even the UFC, like you started, they got like Olympic level doping checks all the time.
Bloody.
There's some of them that get checked like 2-3 times a week, just making sure no one cheat, because it's so hard to maintain that level, maintain that consistency. And you don't want anything clouding that. You don't want any bullshit like
the other thing
this is a fair playing ground. You want that. You want everyone to be equal in terms of opportunity they get to win.
The other thing that's harder than maintaining it is also maintaining the expectation of you should be winning this. And that's, I guess, what Adam's dealing with as well, because they should be winning. They should be winning the Natty. But they've got so many more matches to go before they actually can. So it is that tough thing of just because you're good enough doesn't mean you will.
No, there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee, because on the
That's
other
the
day,
best
that
bit
guy
about
can
sport.
rock up there. At a certain level, everyone's talented. It's who wants it more, who can maintain that level for a long period of time.
Under pressure.
Oh,
And that's, I guess, if we were to sum it up and
Totally
bring it back.
right now.
Yeah, I know, me too. I've got goosebumps. I've had it for the last 20 minutes. But the not being satisfied thing is something that Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart have.
Yep.
They are that hungry that, I mean, they don't need to work.
of course. Yeah.
They could be on vacation for the next 89 years and their kids could be on vacation for their whole life. They got enough money to do that. But they're just not satisfied.
Yeah. Would you say you listen to what they say and you like take it as advice from them, or is there anyone like that's helped you instill that? Because you push yourself to have a mindset like similar to that.
Yeah.
Has that ever been drilled into you? Is there any piece of advice that like you hold on to that really shapes the way of your life?
That's a good question. I don't think there's something in particular.
No.
I don't think there's something in particular. I will. There's really not. Other than just trying to be better than who I was yesterday. That's sort of all I try and do.
Just constant improvement.
But having fun along the way, enjoying myself, being happy and having fun is seriously important to me.
yeah.
So if I'm not enjoying it, then I'll look at it. But just being better than yesterday.
Slow improvements
Yeah.
lead to big improvements over
You
time.
got some advice that you...
Got some advice, yeah. Well, in terms of like the only ever advice, it's not really related to this kind of shit, but it was more along the lines of like how to treat interactions with other people, and especially when it's targeted towards you. Like there was this one quote. What is the quote? It is along the lines of, and this is completely off topic to what we're talking about, but it's along the lines of, don't ascribe to malice what can be ascribed to incompetence, right? So like, what that basically means is, if someone's being shitty to you, let me get that up, because if someone's
That is the quote.
that's the quote, but I'm trying to frame
No,
how
so-
to explain it. It's more like
We've spoke about it, and it's don't get angry at someone, which is malice, just because they're incompetent.
Yeah.
Just because they're not good enough, talented enough, smart enough, whatever it is, at said thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, I mean, I don't want to take away from your advice, but is it a waste of energy?
Yeah, it's more along the lines of, so don't assume that, the way I frame it is because I heard it was in a psychology lecture, someone mentioned it, one of the teachers, they mentioned about this quote, and this is a way to like live a more calm and not get so react emotionally to things that happen when necessarily like it's not targeted at you. It's more like when someone's upset and having a bad day and they're angry, if you take that personally, like then that is going to be more draining on you. So and also in going the other way, if someone makes a mistake or does something wrong and it's the first time they've done it, like getting angry at that person is not going to achieve anything, because it can just be put down to, they didn't know.
They're not good.
They didn't know. Like when they didn't know is a possible answer, that's probably the right answer. You know what I mean? It's kind of a hard one to explain, like in terms of...
I think you've explained it. It's don't waste your time getting angry at someone when they're just didn't know or
Yeah.
weren't taught or weren't smart enough to know. Like, don't. I think it's an energy thing. Don't waste your time on that.
Yeah, and allow room for people to not know things.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I find funny is when someone gets angry at someone who doesn't know something they've never been told.
Yeah.
Like you get,
What do you expect?
Yeah, like why are you getting angry? Just explain it. If you have to explain something 6 times to a person, sure. But like the amount of people who just have short fuses and will just get very upset. I tell myself, and I think I do it too much. I give people too much benefit of the doubt. Like if I haven't mentioned anything about something and they don't understand what I'm talking about, I'm like, that's okay. First off,
Yeah.
explain it again. Like, be calm, be relaxed. There's no point in getting angry at that because it just stresses you out. And I've taken that too far though, because now I'm so.
You can be taken advantage of, you think?
Well, I think I'm just so calm and like it's like okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like I give people the benefit of the doubt always. Always the first time, I'll always give someone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I give them the opportunity to do something to piss me off properly, but everyone always gets a chance.
I think there's nothing wrong with giving a chance. I guess you don't want it to result in you constantly fixing errors because there's a line that you don't want to go down, which is just wasting your time when you're just fixing things. It's being the fixer is, I don't know, the way I see it is sort of a waste of time because you're not really accomplishing anything.
Yeah.
But if you can teach someone a process or a system that allows them to do something, and then there's amount of trust that you give the person because you hope that the way you've taught it is good enough, but you also want to give themselves the room and the creativity to do what they should be doing or change it a little bit. And I guess I trust first and then I don't trust later.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, once you break the trust, of course, that doesn't come back easy. Like that. That's what it is. But yeah, everyone gets a chance.
Yeah, I think I'm good at forgiving though. It's like I really don't care if I'm taken advantage of. It's like if I'm taken advantage of,
really?
then I'll cut ties. But
Yeah. So you'll just cut them out. Like you won't.
yeah,
It's more like you're not forgiving, but you're not really.
I'm not going to waste my time now.
Yeah. Just stop thinking about it. You've screwed me over. Like or you've done whatever it is. Like.
Okay, sure, fine, move on. We've had this conversation with a friend Joe, and he doesn't like when people abuse the Centrelink, and it's not nice.
Yeah.
Because Centrelink is, I guess, trying to create an equal playing field so that everyone can have the minimum standards of living. But he hates to see when people don't want to work or they spend the money on drugs, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because the alternative to that is
he just doesn't like to be taken advantage of, and I don't know. I feel like it's just a.
No, and even I think the way he explains it too, it's not like it shouldn't exist at all. Because if that didn't exist,
It'd be so much worse.
like Australia is a great country to live because we do have that fallback. If you do get or fall into tough times and you don't have any like family support, you don't have any like close friends who are going to really help you get out of a situation, you've got that bit of a buffer to get yourself back on your feet. And when it's used right, that system's amazing to have that ability to get back on your feet and not be
100%.
completely like you'll not cook your whole life up just by having like some really tough times. And things happen in life, but it's anything. It's like any system that gets abused. That can be if people are abusing it for the sake of just not wanting to do anything. That's annoying, and that can cause frustration, especially for people who try and work their ass off, and then taxes going up, and then people not doing anything, getting that money. It's like you can see
it's annoying.
But it's always better to have that work, or better to be working, because your life will be better than those people, even the ones who are abusing that system. Like your life is better.
Yeah.
You're living a lot better and more comfortably.
You've got the option to do that. You can abuse it if you want to. I wouldn't give it up because I don't want to be restricted to that. Like we've all got choices, but I guess it's very different to America because, and I guess I realized it more when you're living in America. And the reason why they call it the land of opportunity is because there is so much more room for opportunity and it's so much easier to grow. Because if you're a business and you need 500 customers to make an income or whatever to succeed in the business, it's so much easier to find that 500 people where there's 250 million people or whatever the population is in America.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder when there's only 20 million. Like, I guess there's still a lot of people, but your number gets multiplied by more than 10.
Yeah.
And they've also, the way that they've incentivized tax makes it a lot easier for growth in America. But if you were to fall, there's nothing. You're hitting concrete.
So their welfare is nothing, not to the level ours.
I actually don't know that there's a welfare.
The healthcare is different too, isn't it? Because it's like a private sector almost. It's not. It's not to the same level that we get here, at least.
If you lose all your money, you're fucked.
There's not much of a fallback.
There's homeless communities and cities, literally homeless cities, little communities and towns.
Yeah.
I remember we're in Louisiana for a festival in New Orleans, and near, I think it's the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, there's a big motorway. It goes both ways, like a T intersection with motorway, two bridges. For about 250 meters, 300 meters, it's all homeless under that bridge. It's huge.
See, I've never heard about Louisiana. Did you say or
Louisiana?
Yeah, because like you hear about it in San Francisco, like LA,
big time.
New York.
Never spent any time in New York. Has a lot of homeless shelters.
Right.
I didn't notice it so much in New York. Not nearly as much as I saw in New Orleans. I'd never spent time in California, really. Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, apparently in San Francisco they have an app. No, they have an app where like you can see where it's like a shit tracking app where you can see where like the like dense areas of the population or the homeless population where they're taking
set up.
Yeah, they're like taking shits and pisses. So it's like to avoid that route to work. Like
Jesus.
It's an crazy. Like there's an app telling you how to avoid, poor sanitation on the way to work. Like it's when something gets to that level, surely something's got to be.
Something has to happen. I guess the issue that California face is taxes already so high.
Yes.
And people don't want to keep paying in more taxes. People are leaving as well. So the only way to fix the problems is create more revenue. But how do you do that if the tax is already too high and you can't keep raising the taxes? It's a tough.
COVID. Like they shut down heavy over there, and especially a lot of those places where there are those dense populations where they live on top of each other too.
Yeah,
so
it's hard.
Bit of a shit show at the moment.
I'm glad I don't have the job of running a city because there's so many things, and people give shit to the people that do and do it poorly, and it's so easy to just sit in an armchair and say do this.
Who would want that job? Like what is it? Is it ego? Is it like you think you can instill change, so you go do it? Like I struggle to what kind of person would even be right for that job? Like I can't work it out. I can't work out why you'd want to be in a public space like that where everything is criticized. It's got to be power.
If it's probably power. I feel like that's a bigger. Oh, here we go. Is power a bigger motivator than wanting to create change? Because I feel like more people get power drunk and will do more things for power.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about a select small group of people that will go the lengths to get power. Then there will be people that really want change in the world and good change. I
think even a lot of people go into those spaces initially to instill change. But once you get a hold of power, a bit of power of people, you don't want to let that go.
Power drunk.
And you'll do anything to keep that hold of that. Especially if you come from a situation where you haven't had a lot of power, haven't had a lot of control of things, and now you're in a position, as if you're going to forfeit that. That would be a very mature person, to just give up any kind of control, because people love control.
I got a book called Ego is the Enemy, and it sort of, I guess, touches on things like that, where ego gets in the way of your everyday decision. And ego is one of those things that I feel to be hyper successful, successful among successful people. You've got to be ego driven because there is no balance to what Michael Jordan's lifestyle was during the 80s and 90s. There's no balance to that. Yeah. There's no balance to what Elon Musk does in his life. So balance is a beautiful thing and it'll make most people happy, but it probably won't get you hyper successful.
It's one of those things that it definitely correlates with success, because even when you got an athlete, just go back to the UFC, the example we used before, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the he was known as like humble.
Yeah.
And he had the thing, it was like, he was humble, and that was a big deal because you don't see that a lot. Like George St. Pierre had the same thing, but there's like few that they really stand out when you're really successful and you're really humble. It's like, it's weird. Like it stands out because you're not used to seeing that necessarily because ego. And even George St. Pierre, go back to him, he spoke about he has ego, but it doesn't come across.
Yeah.
So like you hone in on that, he doesn't have that. Like, in your face, I need to be the best. But, of course, you've got that inner drive to get there, don't you?
I wonder if Khabib comes across as humble because he doesn't speak, or he's not like a native English speaker. Do you think that'd be...
No, I think because he's very religious. His family's always around him. He's not like... Doesn't seem to be blowing his money, that kind of stuff. Like, he just gets in there, he fights. Soon as his father passed away, like, promised his mother one more fight, and then he was done. He did that. Like, he's that kind of...
Okay, yeah.
So he's one of those, like, truly, like, not much of an ego there, except wanting to be the best fighter.
Yeah.
Like, because he's...
That's rare.
Dominant.
Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. Boxers, I think, are more egotistical than other people. But in the business world as well, people are... I mean, okay, Donald Trump, like it or not, he's successful. Yeah. He's done a lot of things that people would like to have done, whether it's being on a TV show, whether it's building one of the biggest buildings in New York in the 80s or whenever it was, Trump Tower, whether it is building gold. Like, he's done a lot of things. He's hyper successful. Obviously, just by knowing some of his tweets, egotistical. Who else is super successful, ego-driven?
Like, I mean, you said it before. Like,
actually,
Michael
Elon Musk
Jordan
probably isn't. Elon Musk is probably one of the people that believes in good and is actually one of the people that is so motivated by good.
Do you reckon? You reckon that's the main motivator in terms of him, like, pursuing? Because even in Australia, he's got, like, he was doing stuff with solar, lots of solar-powered things. He's doing electric cars. Do you think it's... I don't know. I think you have to have a lot of ego, and I think people are drawn to that. Yeah. Like, you want someone leading you who's supremely confident, which... If you don't have an ego, like you don't think you're good, people aren't going to think you're good too. Like, it's very hard. Someone like, oh, you're doing a great job. Oh, it's hard to consistently like, okay, I'll put my trust in that person. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. It's hard to. Successful people are typically leaders, or even in individual sports or team sports, they tend to take command. And as someone's humble, they're probably not taking command, or they're just not as authoritative.
In back to the sport thing, in their field, like, they might be off the field, they're the nicest, like, caring person, but on the field they take charge and they lead by example at the very least. Like, they care, and caring is part of it. Like, making sure you look good because you come across as
you look
performing
good, you feel
well.
good, you feel good, you play good. That you play good, they pay good.
Yeah, like
Who was that?
That was Deion Sanders, I believe.
Love that. Look good, you feel good, you play good, they pay good.
Yeah, like, it's, especially in sport and business, it seems like everything. Like, you gotta have, obviously you don't want to be over egotistical, especially before you've achieved anything.
Yeah.
Maybe achieve a shit, like, then show people how egotistical you are. But you have to have something in you that makes you want to.
Yeah,
be
that's
better than other people.
I tell Geordie, my brother, who's an aspiring cricketer, I tell him, because at times he's incredibly egotistical, and I don't know whether he'll listen to this. I don't know if he'll pull me up on it, but I often talk to him because he's good and he spends a lot of time on it, but you've also got to be teachable.
Yeah.
So, like, what's your willingness to learn and, like, willingness to accept change? I think, like, those are two big indicators that I'm not a good teacher to him. I try and tell him, but it's more like not in a great way.
Yeah, you gotta have an ego, but you've got to know how to listen, and someone who's done more than you. Yeah.
And I'm not that person for him for cricket, because he's aspiring to way more than I've ever done in cricket. But just being able to listen to people.
Being able to
so important.
Take criticism, especially. That's part of it too, like, where it doesn't fracture your ego and you're like, I'm not good enough because this person said I did this bad. Like, that is another huge trait.
Actually, one thing is, like, you've got the people with huge egos. Michael Jordan, in his Hall of Fame speech, he was literally still talking about the reporters that didn't think he would come back from baseball. Like, he's still dissing people. He's still got that chip on his shoulder. but he was teachable. He listened to Phil Jackson, the one guy that could tell him. And I guess Tom Brady, you've got Bill Belichick.
Yep.
Now he's moved to the Tampa Bay Bucks, got a new coach, don't know who it is. But he is...
Bruce Arians.
Yeah. But like, there is still someone who can tell those people, you fucked up, do this. Like,
Because I also think in part of it is, it works hand in hand with super successful, like, ego, ability, and also you've got to be a certain level of insecure.
yeah.
You can't think, this is my opinion,
Yeah.
I don't think you can think everything you do is the best and truly believe it, even if that's the image you're projecting, because you have to be able to, or you have to be worried about failing and worried about not being good enough. And to me, that's, you've got to be like so insecure where you can't fail. You like, you got to be at that level.
Someone's printing something at the
Well, it
moment.
threw me off.
But,
I think insecurity is also part of it. Like, to get super successful, I don't think you can be too secure. You can't be too self-assured. You want to be confident, but you got to be like, if I fuck up, like, that'll crush me.
I think that's, yeah. I don't know about insecure, but I sort of want to disagree with you, but I've agreed with everything what you're saying, because it is about just not... It's about proving people wrong.
Yeah.
And saying, I told you so. And I think without that I told you so instinct, it's going to be so hard to... One thing we're talking about as well that's different is we're not talking about successful, we're talking about hyper successful.
Yeah,
we're not talking about NBA players, we're talking about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, the upper echelon.
Yeah, it's the people that successful people look up to.
Yep.
And I guess that's the difference. And successful people's amazing, but they're not at the level, so they could be different. But I agree that that they are, I guess, insecure.
You can't lose.
Insecure to losing,
You can't
yeah.
lose. It hurts to lose.
George Foreman lost to Muhammad Ali. I think it was called the Rumble in the Jungle, the name of the fight, in Zaire, Africa. And George Foreman was young. I think he was around 20. I don't know the details. But Muhammad Ali was not a favourite to win the fight. George Foreman was the heavyweight champion of the world. Huge man.
Yeah.
Huge. Like, so much bigger than Muhammad Ali. Like, the size difference is scary. And huge favourite to win. Ended up, that was, you might have heard the rope-a-dope tactic, which is where Muhammad Ali was sort of absorbing punches, and probably not good in the later years of his life when it came to his Parkinson's disease, but he was willing to absorb the punches, and you can only throw so many punches before you eventually get tired. And then he started to pick off George Foreman, ended up knocking him down because he just beat him at his own game and said, okay, if you're that good of a puncher, punch me, and I'm going to just be able to withstand it, and then I'm going to beat you. Like, that was what happened. But it was a couple of years, I believe, before George Foreman fought again, because he said it felt like he died that night. Like
That's crazy.
It was a massive ego death.
Yeah.
He did that was his words, and
I need more of that in me.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, like that. Like, I hate losing. Like, when it comes to anything sport wise, you guys, anyone in my family playing video game, like, I don't like to lose. I'm gracious in defeat. I won't show that I'm pissed off, but I can't lose.
Yeah.
Like, if I lose, I take that personally when it comes to sport and athletic endeavor. But like, if I were to not finish this marathon, I would like be so angry at myself, because it'd be like, it's a challenge against myself, and I lost that because I could have done it because I
good.
So like that, I have that. Like, I've just got to tap into the bit where that it'll crush me if I fail, because I can rationalize failure now. Like, I'm able to do that. I don't want to be able to do that. Like, you got to be able to get out of that. Giving yourself a pass. You got to
get out of that self-aware state, and that was actually something that I did for the 60-kilometer run around Uluru. I did feel like I was too self-aware, and that I was too okay with. And I guess it's like probably a healthier state of mind to be in.
I think,
But around 8 weeks out, I started to hone this like sort of savage mentality, and this I became like this animalistic creature where you can't not lose. And I remember on the way to work one day, I ended up having to do a speed above the speed limit, just to overtake one of the other guys driving to work because I didn't want that person to beat me to work. Not that I think this person knew I was racing them, but it was just that sort of mentality, and I think that's one of those things that make you successful, and that was something that I'd worked on like leading up to Uluru, just so that I was so focused and just required to complete it and get it done, because I mean I really even didn't know that I could get it done, but like it was just that sort of thing that you'd hone just to guarantee.
That's a big thing.
Like being okay with failure is fucked up. Like that's like it's a healthy way to be. But
you have to be okay with failure in order to grow from the failure, right? Like you have to be able to understand failure is going to happen, but you've also like you don't want to be okay that it does happen.
It's
you still want it to piss you off, and then grow from it. But you got to accept that it happens. But then there's a period where accepting too much is fucked up.
Yeah. So, because it's hard to be successful if
being able to tap into that thing. Where I think the competitive thing,
it took me a couple of weeks to tap into it.
Like being able to come in and out of that, I think that's probably huge. That's the healthy balance.
It took me a couple of weeks, and I'd had it before because I used to be super competitive in high school and in primary school. But it took me a couple of weeks
to wake that back up.
Yeah, to bring it back out and to really get mad.
Yeah.
Like while I was training to really like just want to hit shit.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to just create this fire inside of you. But I'm fired up now. This is a longer episode, but I feel like now's a good time to wrap it up.
Go on.
But thanks for watching. This is episode 7, and when we come back next, we won't be the same podcast.
We made it.
We've crossed the line.
Top 50%.
That's it.
Comfortably.
That's it. So we're hitting goals, and it's awesome to see. But again, it doesn't happen because of us. It happens because of you guys for actually watching. So thank you. And thank you for watching, viewing, subscribing, clicking here, clicking that, commenting.
Critiquing, letting us know what you don't like and what you want to see, because, we're definitely getting some criticism and definitely getting some just feedback. Not necessarily.
Feedback.
Yeah,
it's
not good criticism. Good criticism. Do this. Or, look into that. But it's all been good.
And we've also got the YouTube clips running as well. So the 5-10 minute sort of segments from the podcast, broken up, they're getting uploaded on a separate page called Outspoken Clips. So definitely check that out too. But thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ciao.